Hi beauties, just a quick short video today. We started the Sovereign Sexuality membership. It's epic, and one of our first topics that feels so core to actually everything is the difference between a pathological approach and a deep feminine approach. So what we've been working with in these first 2 weeks in the membership is just starting to orient our compass from a place of deep feminine approach rather than pathologizing ourselves. And of course, in the membership, we're working to direct that specifically towards sexuality. But this is broad. This applies to everything in our lives. So what's the difference? A, uh, pathologizing approach is one that is diagnostic, that seeks to fix something that's broken, that's analytical, that's often conceptual, and that generally kind of breaks us down. It reinforces the notion that we're broken. A deep feminine approach reinforces the notion that we always have a deeper wisdom moving in us than we often know, and that when we turn towards something without diagnosing, without saying we're broken, without making ourselves wrong, when we turn towards anything that's arising in ourselves from a deep feminine approach, meaning meet it, let it be, just let it be. Are you scared? Okay. Do you feel insecure? Okay. Like, let it be, meet it, let it be what it is. Don't immediately go into pathologizing. From there, in a deep feminine approach, we soften and dilate around it rather than contract around it. So you notice you're anxious, you notice you're insecure, you notice whatever, you're feeling hard on yourself. Well, instead of contracting around that, using it to reinforce the sense that we're broken, we soften and dilate around it. Give it space. It's okay if you're afraid. Give that space. Everything is going to move through you. All things will make themselves known and will change and will move through you. There's nothing wrong. When we approach things from a pathological perspective, from the underlying assumption that we're broken, that everything always needs fixing, then we make it wrong. And that's where we have power. We have the power, the choice, no matter what's in front of us, to choose. Are we going to pathologize this? Are we going to turn toward it and seek understanding? So in a deep feminine approach, you meet what is, you allow it, you give it space, you breathe and dilate around it. And then you ask, what's the need here? What's the wisdom here? And then you move from that. It's not that the two things won't necessarily eventually take you to the same place, right? Your insecurity probably wants to resolve into a sense of security. Your fear probably wants to resolve into a place of ease, right? But the way we get there makes all the difference. In fact, it makes the difference to whether or not we ever get there at all, right? Or if we lock ourselves down in these perceptions that we're broken. And pathologizing ourselves is an insidious and unconscious and pretty consistent mechanism that's been internalized for most of us, especially most women. Right? Looking for what's wrong. So I'll use some examples from the Sovereign Sexuality membership. You can find your own. But for instance, say you've been in a dormant phase. You haven't been sexual. You haven't had a partner for years. There's a way that a lot of women will pathologize that. They'll say, well, then I must be broken. I must be so asexual. There must be something wrong with me. Maybe it's because of all these past experiences I've had, I've just shut down. Or, there's so many ways to look at it and to make a story up about ourselves that reinforces the sense that there's something wrong. Well, to move from a more deep feminine approach is to turn towards that and ask, all right, let it be. All right, this is dormancy. Well, what is that? In a deep feminine approach, when we go through dormant times sexually, for instance, we are often gestating something. I know women who've gone dormant for 4 years in deep gestation, in deep return to themselves. And out of that, They've entered the most healthy relationship they've ever had. They've re-entered sexuality in a completely new way, right? The wisdom of their being, despite the longing that they went through, despite feeling like maybe there's something wrong or they may never have the relationship or whatever, when they've allowed themselves the gestation time and turned toward it. So instead of looking at it and kind of pushing up against it, oh, it's broken, I got to fix it, I got to make this better, I got to do something about it. When they turned toward it in a deep feminine way, they were able to turn toward it and get behind the gestation that was happening, right? So it became not just a dormant, shut down phase where something's kind of wrong. It became this time of potent, rich, beautiful gathering of personal power, right? We often pathologize longing, saying, God, I'm so needy. I long so much. I have so many needs, these things. And as soon as we pathologize it, we've ostracized ourselves from the fulfillment that's inside of longing and the response that actually wants to meet our sacred needs. So to a deep feminine approach to need, to longing, is to let it be for a minute. And instead of constricting around it, trying to fix it, trying to get the longing met, trying to get the need met, trying to change the need, whatever, we soften and dilate around it. Think of a deep feminine movement. Soften, dilate, sound like birth, anybody? Like, this is what the female being is made to do. To dilate, to soften, right? To allow things to move through, to be strong but supple. So we're not going into this diagnostic, analytical, trying to pin it down and figure it out and make it better and get somewhere. We're not going that direction. If you take longing and need and you soften and dilate around them, all of a sudden they'll reveal to you their fulfillment. Longing will reveal to you what it's longing for, truly. Right? Your sacred needs will reveal to you what they are in their depth and how they might be met, even by yourself. So what we're working with in the membership, what I'm inviting you into in your life in general, is a turning toward yourself from a place that is inherently rooted in self-reverence and a choice to ask and know what wisdom is moving inside of you, rather than what's broken inside of you. The lens through which you choose to view yourself makes a huge difference in what you'll see and what aspects of you will actually reveal themselves to you. So if you turn toward yourself with reverence, and more importantly in some ways, or in greater depth, choose to believe that you have an innate wisdom inside of you that is operating, that you may not always see, that you may not always know, but that you can find it. So for instance, sexually, if you go into a dormant phase, or if you choose some random relationship that you can't believe you chose, or that you don't understand your motivations for, it falls apart, it all goes to shit, it ruins your life for a little while. Well, there's a way to not decide that that's more evidence that you suck and that you can't think right and you make bad decisions and all the things that we torment ourselves with. There is a way to turn towards that and not go into denial about the places where we're growing, but to ask what the deeper wisdom is. What were you trying to find in that relationship? What was compelling you in that direction? What were you trying to show yourself or to know? What part of yourself were you really trying to experience and express? And in that, you can return to yourself and you can gather power, gather more of yourself, and actually have an alliance with what's here. All of it. All of it. It is really about how you turn towards yourself. The situations are the same. We all have histories full of trouble, right? I'm pretty sure I can probably speak for all of us, of varying degrees. But where we're coming to now in this moment, deep feminine approach is about this moment. Your power is here. You are here. And there is a deep wisdom living inside of you that has never left. Can you turn toward her? And how you turn toward her determines how much she can reveal to you, how much of yourself you can really know. So I invite you, well, I invite you to join the membership if you haven't. It's extremely beautiful and powerful, and it's amazing the way the women are all coming together. B, I just invite you, whether or not you do, to consider this. Just track, just gently watch in your life ways in which you pathologize, ways in which you kind of immediately go into a sense that there's something wrong or broken. And just see, can you shift that? Just the approach. Don't try to change the circumstance. Don't try to change what you are, what you're feeling. No, we're not bypassing anything. But we're taking a deep feminine approach rather than a pathological approach. And it will be the thing that can help you blossom into yourself, right? Come into peace with what you are, what you have been, what has brought you here, and to feel the power, the wisdom, the ancient presence that has been with you all this time and that continues to inform you, whether or not you're aware of it a lot of the time. Blessed be.